All right, welcome back to a long-awaited new episode of Memories with Mumbo. I think this is our eighth, maybe, or ninth Memories with Mumbo. We haven't done one in it's been a couple months.
Yeah, it's been a while. Mom and I were just talking. She thought it was only two that we'd done. I said, no, I know we've done at least three or four. Maybe it has been eight or nine. Who knows? I'm
Yeah,
so busy,
because
I just can't keep track of all of it.
you're a busy man, hard to
Yeah.
track down. No, I think we've done 7 episodes. We might have recorded only a handful of times, but some of them we've done, a pair of episodes in a session. But
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
but no, you've been busy, so I guess we'll start by giving the listeners a little bit of a recap. I think our last episode might have been the turkey episode, and we were talking about some of the hunts that you're potentially going on. How was your turkey season this year?
Oh, we ended up. I did go on the Mississippi. I think we did talk a little bit about that. Went out for an Eastern and was unsuccessful. Saw a lot of birds. And I think if I recall, I did talk about this that they're a little bit smarter than our Merriams out here. These Merriams kind of walk right up to you like a mule deer and check you out and see what you're up to before they get whacked. But those Easterns, they're a little skittish.
Yeah,
Uh, Kellen, he got one. The guy I went out there with, he got one the first day, and we had a couple that were kind of lingering around, but never could get them to come in. And then we could hear them, and every morning we'd hear them, know where they were roosting, hear them fly down, and as soon as we'd call, it's like they would answer back, but they were answering going the other way.
yeah.
Never
Like, yeah,
did.
we hear you, but we're out of here.
Yeah, we hear you, and we're getting it. We're gonna answer back, but you ain't gonna see us. And then other buddy, he got shot one towards the end of the week there that we were out there, the long weekend. Um, but that was kind of a spot and stock. There was a bunch of them that
Yeah,
were back there, and they had uh, they had feeders in Mississippi. You can't hunt within, I think it was 100 yards, maybe 100 or 150, whatever it was, away from a grain feeder or deer feeder, game feeder. Um, so we'd always try to pick those paths that we would know that they would be going there probably in the evening to eat before they went up to roost, or once they got down, they were pecking away and bugging and doing everything else. And eventually you'd see them during the day at those feeders. So kind of strategically watched and tried to pattern them. Well, the Eastern, you just don't pattern them when you
yeah,
don't hunt them, all the time. Where Merriam's up here in Wyoming, you can kind of see them and call a little bit, get their attention, and then I was able to, when I got mine this year out on the ranch in Creek Bottom, I could see him up on the hay or the alfalfa meadow there, and there was probably, I don't know, a dozen birds with a couple toms in it, and I just kind of went down on the creek bottom and walked all the way around, and shoot, I scratched twice, and I had four hens on me before I could put the stick, whatever it's called there,
yeah,
down, and just ended up dropping it. And matter of fact, I was videoing once they kind of turned because I stopped, and they kind of turned and went back over the side of the cut there where the creek was, and I just scratched it one time, and that Tom was right behind him, and he gobbled right there, and I had my video while I was scratching the camera, and I just dropped it because that I never did get a chance to video him because I shot him before he came over and poked his head like, shit, there's another one down there in the creek. I didn't know she was down there.
yeah.
And he saw me just sitting right there at about 10 yards. And yeah, it was the end of that.
learn
But yeah, it was
learned
fun.
him a
It,
lesson at that time.
it was fun. Yeah, yeah. Still too short. Need the Mary or need the Eastern and Osceola. Got a
Yep.
couple ends on where we might be able to get down to Florida and get down south and maybe pick up an Osceola in the upcoming years, but that's
Yeah.
all yet to be, solidified by any means. And I think
Yeah.
Eastern, I should always have a couple different options. if the time frame works out.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of places that have them that I didn't really realize had them, but yep.
Yeah, because I think that's what you have there in Nashville, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the only one we have, but I don't even remember where I was watching. It was on YouTube, just somebody talking about they were turkey hunting or whatever. It might have been a podcast, but they're talking about some other state, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, we were hunting easterns and Miriams, and in the same state." And I was like, I would not think an eastern was there. I can't remember what state it was, but
Well, I think I've had that conversation with a couple of the guys out there that we bird dog with about some easterns getting into the eastern part of Kansas, where
I can see
elsewhere that
that.
they got some easterns that are mixed with their Rios, and they might even crossbreed or what have you. But every bird that I've shot in Kansas has been a Rio, so I don't know.
Maybe
Obviously,
that's what it was eastern and Rio. They were in the same state, but
yeah,
yeah,
I wouldn't suspect that you could get a
Miriam and an
Merriam
eastern in
with
the
an
same
Eastern, but
region.
yeah, that's pretty far distance, but who knows? I mean, we just saw there's moose out in somewhere out in eastern Kansas. The guy took a picture of cow and a calf moose, so
Oh.
there's got to be a bull around there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah. So these animals with all the population push and stuff that you and Brooks been talking about on your podcast, just the people in general and the construction and the
Yep.
building everywhere is just going to push animals in places you've never seen them before. So
Yeah, for sure.
hopefully we'll still have that land to hunt them on.
Yep. For now, for now
Yeah,
we do. The big public land sale got
yeah,
shut down, so that was a big one. But
right.
yeah, lots of things changing. Even in my lifetime, a lot of things have changed. So I can only imagine. You know, you being an outdoorsman, how many places that you used to hunt that maybe don't even exist anymore, let alone how much some have changed and just aren't even, or like I said, some aren't even there.
Yeah. Well, when you were born, that house when I was growing up, we were dove hunting and pheasant hunting out by Jim Brocco's, which, as a crow flies, is maybe a mile,
Hmm.
um, northwest of where you were raised. You're born anyway.
Right.
And shoot, now it's in the middle of major growth Arvada, so
Yeah, that's suburbia.
a lot of it changes. Nothing you
Yeah.
can do about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, so successful turkey, and then lots of fishing this summer.
Yep. Never got out and never got back to Kansas for my tag. Just couldn't work out and couldn't find that time frame of you know getting a couple days there and driving that far and driving right back and
Hmm.
had some other commitments that I had to take care of. And yeah, been on the water quite a bit. It's been a little bit different year. The water level got really high again up here, and um, fish were in new places, and got to start. I'd never really been real big on throwing swim baits, plastics. We've always casted and pitch cranks and pulled cranks, and did a little jigging early. Not much in for bait. I like the artificial, the plastics and the cranks, but so it was fun to, our old friend Joe Rango went out with him and Teresa and mom and I, and we pulled cranks, and then we talked while we were out there, and then over at his house about some swim baits, and got me in on some weedless stuff, and pretty much bass fishing for walleye, which a
Yeah.
lot of things are getting more and more similar in the two. Um, so we started doing that. We started getting some better fish, because they started getting real small and sparse, and the milfoil came up. So pulling cranks, I don't mind it. You do got to check your line a lot more often because you get tangled up and it pulling weeds for how long, and you wonder
Yeah.
why you're not catching fish. But so when you have different people on the boat, you don't want to have to do that. That's where I was finding my times to just go and pitch plastics and kind of start on that. Got you know, last year I invested in a live scope and a Garmin, and really got to know that fairly well during the late fall season with the spoons, and being able to identify fish and locate and everything. And so
Yeah.
it was a real good opportunity not being able to tournament fish this year. I started doing more and more of that and finding fish and the weedless thing was all new to me because if
Hmm.
I would take people and they insist on using what they had. And if they didn't have a weedless guard on there, they were just getting all kinds of hung up every cast on pitching in them weeds. And so that was good. We caught some nice fish. Got probably our better fish. Was doing that later in the summer here, but
Yeah.
and now we're starting to find them. John across the street and Mom and Bree and I have gone out probably 5 or 6 times this week and catch a lot of fish. We'll catch 30, 40 fish, 35, whatever. Um, but if we kept the ones over 15, 15, 16 inches are like long cigars. They're not real healthy fish yet because
Yeah.
I don't think our numbers are up on the shad and the bait fish. And I think it's starting to come around. We're starting to see more bait balls on the screens and being able to find those more often. And we have found them now a little bit further down the lake where they're more healthy fish. So maybe the bait was better down there
Mm,
and catching some fish closer to home instead of having to traveling up, you know, to where the river comes in. So,
yeah.
but yeah, that's been that, and don't have any more trips lined up until September. And we'll get out and do some dove hunting and get back into bird dogging and do got to run to Kansas and help a guy with some clients of his fishing for wipers, which would be a new experience for me. But
Yeah.
other than that, we're back into it. Didn't draw an elk tag or a deer tag, so they have the reclamation tags here, which they have them again, and they have 999 available. And I think they probably put that in because they don't have a fourth digit, um, because it's really unlimited.
Yeah.
You get people from around here, and what that reclamation tag is just the herd has gotten out of hand, and there's too
Mm,
many elk and insurance and game and fish, and just not being able to keep up with reimbursing losses for ranchers. Whether it be grain or alfalfa or fence or whatever.
right.
So they're able to go and over the counter buy a reclamation tag, which is antlerless, cow calf only, for this area that we're in here. And so I didn't draw the bull tag once again, six straight years. Just bad luck on my part. Didn't
Yeah.
draw. We
Not
put
much you
in
can do when it's a draw.
Yeah, and it's all luck of the draw. It's supposedly no preference points or no anything. Just if your if your number gets called out of that. And so far, not
Yeah.
for me. Did once, twice. Got an antelope permit this year, which really is for John Guard. He really likes to eat his antelope. So we'll go get him an antelope, and I'll process it for him here at the house. And then I drew a mule deer tag 2 years ago and got a decent one. Ended up just doing a Euro mount on him, but
Hmm.
put in there again this year and didn't draw. Which, come to find out, the place where we got this one 2 years ago, there's all of that access over there. It was all checkerboarded land, and BLM was kind of landlocked. And there was a rancher that we could go across his property. Well, I guess since that time, 2 years ago, it's that ranch is sold, and your uncle Mike was telling me that now it's whatever that road is. They've got gates across it and everything now, and you can't even access the place we were going to go. So it might have been a blessing in disguise that I didn't just waste a tag. But
Oh yeah.
there's enough land up there we could have found somewhere else to chase a muley around.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of mule deer, I guess that's gonna be kind of the topic of today's episode. You've got
Yeah.
a few that you've harvested in your lifetime, a couple on the wall.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I guess how many have you not only hunted? How many have you harvested? I guess mule deer.
a mule deer. I don't know. I'd say a dozen. But just before before I started, I just went with your grandpa, Papa, went a couple times up in northeastern Wyoming to whitetail hunt. But other than that, everything was mule deer, around where we were at in Wyoming. Colorado never really had a chance much till later on in my years of hunting did I get into whitetail, but still like to go out on occasion. Like I said, 2 years ago, got one. It's decent. He's European mountain. He's probably a good 29. He's pushing 30 inch. Just wasn't quite as hefty. He was running with it was a bachelor herd that I got onto, and just bad luck on the one I really wanted. He was a good deer. He would have been shoulder mount next to the other one, but just bad luck on my part and probably bad shooting too. But we won't get into that too much. But um, yeah, I came back from walking and hunting him and was kind of upset. Went up, thought I might have got hit him as he was going over, just kind of cutting through a ravine through the kind of crest of a hill there, and there was no sign of anything. So I think it was just him stumbling on loose dirt and rocks and everything else. And it was all sagebrush hunting out there, and where we got into where they were going up in the kind of the hilly part of the mountain area. But then as we walked back, got into the side by side, and we're heading back and thought we'd evening hunt a little bit later. And shoot, I saw this one sitting there and glassed him. And he was sitting under a sagebrush, so he must have just been in that same herd and kind of tucked back in and was just going to watch us go back by and thought he was all good. And he stood up and was like, "Yeah, I'll take him." He's kind of neat in the aspect he's chocolate horned. I've never
Mm,
really seen a chocolate horned deer, let alone shoot one. And so it
yeah.
was, it was good. He's a good 4 point, nothing spectacular score wise, but very unique for me. And like I'd mentioned on other things, there's more with the stories and more with the uniqueness than it is just the final size or score or whatever.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
and
for
then my
sure.
other one, my shoulder mount, that was a fun hunt because I got a chance to hunt with a good friend of mine that I played baseball with for, well, I guess just 1 year. Dan Neal up in Wyoming. He was a senior when I was uh, just new to college, freshman, redshirt freshman actually, and him and his wife Sandina took me in, and then we ended up going through 5 years of ball and then just kind of lost track of Dan, and lo and behold ran into him in Cheyenne Frontier days, and later on up here at Glendale actually, um, camping with you and Bree and Mom, and shoot, back then I think it was Jake the
Mhm.
lab, and I just happened to recognize the guy walking in right at dusk, almost dark, and sure enough, it was Dan, and we reunited, and we've kind of been real close ever since that time, which has probably been, well, heck, how old are you? Almost going on 28, 29,
I just turned 29, almost 30 now.
29, yeah, whatever they are. Um, that was that. So he did get a chance. He's banking, had a banking job up in Gillette, and had an opportunity to get onto a ranch there, and I brought up some walleye so we could have walleye one night, and the rest of it was kind of took care of itself. We went out and hunted for a few days and found a real unique deer. It's got a lot of points. Nothing there again, nothing huge again, but just the 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 opportunity to have a story with Dan, and just a unique opportunity for me, and got to meet some fun people. And it used to be a Cabela's piece of land where they outfitted it,
Mm.
and for whatever reason they weren't outfitting it for a few years, and uh, we got onto it because I think the owner might have been either a good friend, just a good friend, or a client or something of Dan's, and we got to be able to get out there and have a good time and get a
Yeah,
pretty
that's pretty
decent dinner
special.
out of it. Yeah.
So, all of your mule deer have been rifle?
No, but one doe I got um John Guard, quite a few years back still. Um, I was just starting into archery, and he was muzzleload hunting elk up. Oh shoot, it was I can't think of the name of that town. Uh, right off I-70, past Eagle. Minturn? No, 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 past that. Anyway, um, I went up there, met him, and I just had a mule deer tag. I didn't have a. I think I might have had a general elk tag, but um, I'd seen mule deer, so I started putting all my efforts into that. And he was out. He was out walking around the mountain looking for an elk, and I ran across. I had a doe tag and was able to get a doe there. And that, other than that, I've never mule deer hunted with my bow.
Yeah.
We did have, we talked about when you and I were elk hunting up there on Gore Pass. I did have, I went up there years after that with Tim and Brad, his cousin, and they had elk tags up there. And I think I had an elk tag, but I also happened to pick up a deer tag.
Mm,
And it was the biggest deer, three deer. But one of them was the size of a dang elk. It was just the animal, just huge. And boy, was that a story. I mean, they were walking right down the trail at me. And there again, I'd whitetail hunted. I'd probably been 3 or 4 years into pretty consistently heavy whitetail hunting,
mm,
for us at the time. And had this mule deer tag and had my bow, and shoot, I was just sitting there, and those three mule deer came down the mountain, and I was down at the bottom, right on the edge of these quakies, and they were on a game trail, and that game trail, I followed it down where they were. I thought, holy cow, that's right where I'm sitting there. This is the same trail they're on. And they kept walking, not in a hurry, not spooked at all. And I'm glassing them. I'm getting ready. I'm getting my arrow knocked and everything ready to go, and starting to get my rangefinder out. And pretty soon they stop and look back up that mountain a ways, and I couldn't tell what was going on. And took my glasses down. And next thing you know, all three of them start bouncing, and they got spooked. I thought, well, what the heck? There must be a bear, because we've seen bear up there. I know there's mountain lions up there. Elk, something had to have spooked them. Well, sure enough, I glassed it a little bit, and there's a guy, and if it was if it was 100 yards, I'd be lying, because it had to have been 150. That he had to have launched that arrow up there to get it to come down on the, and I saw it probably 10 feet shy of where that big one was, that big mule deer. His arrow was sticking in the ground. And I thought, you son of a gun, how, number one, if you're going to hit it that far away, number one, it's luck. I don't care
right.
how good you are back then.
Yeah, for sure.
I know there's stuff out now that probably somebody could reach out and touch one where they want to, but um, number two, to hit it in a good kill spot, and number three, to even get enough penetration back then. This was 20 years ago
Yeah.
plus, and one of them, probably the middle one, still a good deer, better than anything I got, started to turn and walk at me, and this goofball decides to just go down and look for his arrow, and that deer was coming right at me, and there again, by now he's probably shoot 70 yards from me, walking right at me, getting back on the game trail, and this goofball comes down from the side of the mountain, all camoed up, and that deer turned and looked at him, and just hightailed it right dead away from me again. It's like, man, it's not my luck, I guess.
Right.
That's public hunting Colorado for you, I guess. That's seemed like it
Yeah.
was
I mean, you never know what you're gonna see on public land.
no, but it's all right. It's all being out there and experiencing it.
Yeah.
Irritates you and pisses you off and gets the blood pumping and wanting to go up and say something, but you grab your pack and head the other direction. That's
Yeah.
all you do. Doesn't do any good to get all bent out of shape about
Right. What are you gonna do? It's not your land. It's not their
it.
land. Not your
No,
deer.
no, other than that, I know your mom. It was fun going. I got to be with her, experience her first mule deer hunt. Papa took the two of us out. We had antelope hunted, a few different antelope, hers and mine, and we had an opportunity to go out and it was up there fairly close to where you shot your antelope that year with Papa.
Mm,
Um, and we just pulled over the ridge, and there was nice little 3x4 buck. And Mom got that one. Then we had an opportunity in Colorado. That was in Wyoming, and then we had an opportunity. She never really cared much about that. Yeah, it's a little bit different shooting that deer for her than it was an antelope.
yeah.
We got to uh, we got to Colorado, and we both got an opportunity to shoot 4x5s, and one I think she might even got a 5x5 in back-to-back weekends, the same place up there where we used to hunt at Tigawan. Where remember when Mark Martinez got lost on the mountain? That mountain was a pretty good place for game. We ran across some decent deer, and back then I think it was a 4 point or better area. And the
Yeah.
ones we got were both fives, and nothing huge. They didn't have a wide rack or a real heavy rack. But they weren't spindly. They were just solid fours and fives, and had fun doing that. And now like I said, I do the processing, and if I don't have a good mule deer that I'm gonna hunt around here, I won't take a look. I'm trying to let them grow a little bit, but
Yeah.
there again, I don't know why, because it's all public and it's over the counter. So if there's a decent buck for our area with antlers, it's gonna not make it. I mean, somebody got but
Somebody's gonna end up with it, huh?
yeah, and it's kind of like I've really found, because at first I thought there was a huge difference in mule deer and whitetail, which I am convinced there is. But the last few mule deer that I've had a chance to shoot, that didn't get up and really push them and get them going, and it was cool, and we took really good care of the meat. Now that I process all my own, and it's turned into some really good sausage and actually
Mm,
decent burger, to throw into chilies or soups or something.
yeah.
Um, but it's like I said, it is still a little bit gamier than the good whitetail, especially the ones out in Kansas where we're getting right off of cornfields and
Right.
opportunity to really get out there and get some good ones. But
Yeah,
yeah,
their
no,
feed is definitely different.
yeah, they're not feeding on sage, they're feeding on corn and alfalfa, whatever they're out there. A little bit different in here, but yeah, it's been fun chasing those. I know I still got Mark Ulishny. He wants to always come out and may find a good place to mule deer hunt. And I had an opportunity I drew a Colorado tag out on the plains, which there are some huge bucks. Curtis has two real nice ones. Matter of fact, you were with us when we helped drag out. I mean, we didn't have to drag most of it. They let them get on there, and we won't get in too much to where they were at because I don't know that they were supposed to be there. But um, that's still a topic for them to say. Yeah, I had permission, but uh, they he had two really good ones, and boy, they're pushing 180 deer, and they're good,
Yeah.
healthy, mature bucks, and that's some real good. I had one unique one out there, one that was real tall and heavy, not very wide. Had 4 or 5 points on the side, and I would have taken him, just never had a good shot opportunity. Called him swing set buck. Just about every other time we'd see him, he'd be right off a 2 lane highway, and we'd take a turn on the dirt road, and there was always a house that had a swing set on it. And one time he's out there fighting that swing set, and I think he was getting whipped. And we just tried, obviously you can't go in there and shoot a deer in somebody's playground, but we'd always be able to kind of watch him and glass him and see where he was going, and he would take the same path. So I packed up and went out in the middle of this. It was a cut cornfield, and he was walking about 100 yards from where I could get to. And sure enough, I got out there about 200 deep into it, and I could just see the antlers coming over the hill. And I thought, yes, this is it. And got out there, and I figured I'm in range. I don't need to go any further. Well, what you don't see in those cornfields is a little hill. You know, all you see is stalks. I think he got in a little, just a little bit of a backside of a hill in that cornfield that I just couldn't, where I was, get a good shot at him. And
Hmm.
then he just kind of turned and went down the rows. And needless to say, never did get that one. Never got to even get a shot at it. And then had another one that we had permission on a little sliver of land in between two pieces of private land that you did not hunt. And the guy I was with, Mike, he said, "Yeah, it's that's so and so's, and that's another so and so's, and but we got this one here." The very first day we drove through it to show me the land, and we kicked up that buck, and I said, "That's a good one. I'll take him." No, 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 no. We got a week to hunt. Well, sure enough, we hunted that deer for a week. We had it in the back of the truck, all but skinned out. Um, but we just didn't do it right away. And bad on both of us. You know, number one, he wanted me to get the best buck I could, and I don't know that he really got a good look at it. All just like anything, all good bucks look better when they're going away from you.
Right.
Look wider, look heavier, you know, whatever. And then every time I had an opportunity to shoot it, it was on the private land, right above this water tank, and you don't know how close we got to go ahead and shooting it and and lifting it back over that fence or dragging it under. And I just thought, you know, it's not worth it. I'm not,
Yeah.
you know, you talk about the new Samson, or not new, back then it was new, Samson law with the big elk that was killed up there above Estes Park. Um, and it was any trophy animal. 4 pointer or better is considered a trophy in the state of Colorado, and it was I think it was a minimum. Could be wrong. Don't quote me, but it was a minimum of $10,000 and time in prison, jail.
Yeah.
And you know, you could always go back and use that as an example too. But at the end of the day, doing the right thing and just taking one on the chin, and saying, "Gosh darn it, that would have been an awesome one to have."
Yeah.
Um, but you know, it's not. It's there's life after a big mule deer, that's for sure. I don't know if there is on a big walleye, but I guess I guess there is, but um, no, those are it's all it's you know like we talked about. I think the very first time out with the mounts that you have and the experiences in every mount, and then going through like on that was an experience, just like the other mule deer walking down at Gore Pass there. Those are things that if you were sitting there at home watching TV or on the couch, you wouldn't have a chance to experience. And I think those are all thrown in with just the camaraderie and the opportunity to be outside and see an animal like that in person. That's a good
Hmm.
considered a trophy, and even if they're not, just being up in a tree watching does and squirrels and raccoons and pheasants and turkeys and quail, and
Right.
I have as much fun videotaping them and sending them to mom and Bree and you, and then it's when you get a nice buck that we eventually talk about come by and get a chance to get him, that just adds a lot more to the experience, that's for sure. But
Right.
yep,
So
good times.
for mule deer specifically, what would you say is like the biggest difference between like a mountain mule deer and like a plains mule deer? Because I've never hunted mountain mule deer. I hunted when I was out in western Kansas. There were, I mean, obviously it's you're in the plains, so that those were the only mule deer I've ever actually I actually remember hunting for myself at least.
I think mule deer, number one, they're a bigger body until you get into the rut, into the corn-fed Kansas, maybe Iowa, Saskatchewan size whitetail. Other
Hmm.
whitetail, the whitetail that you have out there in Tennessee and Texas, those were smaller in body size. I think the plains out in the eastern plains of Colorado, western plains of Kansas, the plains of Wyoming. I think those, I just in my experience, if it's really the truth or the facts or not, but I feel like they're a little bit bigger bodied, maybe because they get a chance to get into some grain,
Hmm.
some on some farmland. I don't know. Um, I do feel like you see more opportunities for big antlered animals on the plains because of the openness. You can glass further. Are they in the mountains? Absolutely. I think they are. Well, I know they are. You just don't have the opportunity to glass as much and see as much unless you're in there for a week at a time. You watch Meat Eater on and Steve's up there. He'll spend a week just glassing until they finally get
Hmm.
on one or two and have an opportunity where, most of our hunting for the average person is 2 and 3 days,
Right.
uh, especially up in the mountains. But I think there's a few more opportunities for the darker antlered in my experiences up in the mountains.
Hmm.
The one that I got last year, it was kind of right on that edge of the mountain slash uh, desert deer.
Right.
Um, so if it was truly had come down, or maybe it's just in their breeding, I have no idea. But that's
Hmm.
just it seems like I see those there. Um, but
Behavior
they
wise,
are,
is there much of a difference, you think?
what's that?
Behavior wise, like you were saying earlier, like kind of like the Merriam turkey, like mule deer, obviously compared to whitetail, they're a lot more curious and they'll hang around a little longer. But
Yeah.
plains to mountains, do they behave pretty much the same, or is there kind of a difference there that you've noticed?
I think they behave the same. And I can use an example of the doe that I shot, the mule deer doe, um, that I made reference to earlier. I learned that I had a side by side back or a four wheeler back then. It didn't take me long at all to learn that when I saw those deer, that I would get off and get my bow and turn off the ATV. And as soon as I turned off that ATV, off they went. Well, I thought, well, heck, that one's there. And instead of zipping my case on my bow, I had it unzipped and on the front rather than on the back. And all I had to do was take the bungee or whatever I had was using at the time to get into my bow because you can't carry it. You have to state law in Colorado it has to be
Secured.
cased, your weapon,
Yeah.
either your bow or your rifle or whatever you're using. Uh, so I had it cased. I was legal. Just wasn't zipped up, but I left the ATV on, and that doe she just stood there the whole time I was getting my bow out because that ATV didn't change. She knew
Yeah.
something was still there, and her curiosity got her. Gave me enough time to get my bow and get around the backside of a sagebrush tree or evergreen tree or whatever it was, and got to I think 27. It might have been 37. It was a longer shot for up there. Um, but I got a good broadside shot, and she was still looking back at that ATV, like, "Huh, what the heck's that?" Where if I would
ATV
have turned it
decoy.
off, it was almost like the light came on. They turn it off because they know I'm here, and off they would go.
Yeah.
Um, where I mean, you've seen the whitetail. All they got to do is see your vehicle, or see you, or even think you're there, and they're gone.
Yeah.
Um, there's no opportunities there.
Yeah, you can't
And
even
that's
slow down your truck in when you see
no,
a whitetail. A mature buck, they see you slow down and they know they're out of there because they
yeah,
just
they're
they
slowed
just saw
down
their
for one
buddy get
reason.
shot last time that happened.
Yeah, my buddy's no longer with me.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, and even the does, well, they're the same way.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, and you'll get the big mule deer. We'll drive by here and I'll just happen to see one. Well, down there on the way from the paint booth there to the marina, back where the old trailer used to be,
Hmm.
there's those ravines in there, and Mom and I'll always see decent deer, bucks, and I saw a good one. He was 4 by 5, and he was just bedded down underneath sagebrush. And we slowed down. I kind of pulled off on the side, got the binoculars out. He stood up broadside, looked at us like, "Well, here, if you're looking, you might as well see the whole package." And shoot, he never did move. He
Yeah.
sat there and watched it. I took a picture of him, passed the binoculars over to Mom. She watched him. We finally just left him. He never did leave, you know,
Right.
and yeah, chances are that if it would have been in season or in a place that you could have shot, they know that too, and off they'd have
Oh yeah.
been. But pretty much, that's what I've recognized in mule deer is they're curious. They're almost as curious to what you are as you are with what they are. So,
Right.
a little bit easier to hunt as far as that goes. As far as the terrain, mm, not so much. You know,
Yeah.
you're hunting up and down, and or even out in the prairie. You might be able to see them, but to find a way to get around them or and then walking through and everybody thinks that well it's just we're out here in the red desert or we're out here in the plains of Wyoming. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's ravines in there that are
Oh yeah.
20-30 feet deep and you got to hike down them and hike up them and then you don't know where they're at 'cause sagebrush is every bit of 6 to 8 feet tall and boy but if you see them off the main road, dirt road or highway, it looks like it's just flat and shoot I can walk right out to them. That's not the case. And then you got the old buzzworms that are always out there that you got to be careful for. And
Buzzworms. You talking about rattlesnakes?
oh yeah, yeah, they got world record worm size out here if you're not careful. I've never, I've never run across one other than goose hunting years ago. And that was like having flashbacks. I just took off running, had no idea where I was going. He was coiled up right there next to. I'll never forget. It was Bruce and John Devereaux from uh, Gross and from Texas. We're goose hunting, and I picked him up from the airport for your papa. Anyway, we had wounded one, and he was out there, and that was the last thing on our mind. We were just walking. You can't take. It was private property on a reserve, so you can't take a gun.
Yeah.
We were just walking on this game trail to where we thought maybe like kind of lined it up with a landmark, just looking. Just happened to be a little cottontail bunny took off and kind of figured that we spooked it. Well, no, I think it was the coiled up snake that was right next to it. And we both saw it and was like, oh,
Out of here.
fuck that goose. We're gone. And we're back in the truck and these guys are laughing at us running across. What the heck are they running? Your papa, you can only imagine.
Right.
God damn, Mulvaney, what are you running for? There's a buzzworm out there. I'm done.
Out of there.
But
Yeah, that's
anyway,
funny.
kind of off track from the mule there.
Nah, that's all right. That's all right. No, my only I don't know how much I really shared on my mule deer hunting experiences with you, but Western Kansas, and it was convenient because it was really close to town, and I'm sure there's not a whole lot of people that listen to this anyways. So like in Garden City, there's really not much for public land, but there was an area really close to town that was open to public hunting, even though it was kind of like private property. I mean, that's what most public land in Kansas is walk-in hunting access, where a private landowner like leases through the state access for hunters to come in and hunt. This was a little different, but still kind of same idea. Anyways, certain sections of this area were open and closed depending on the year, time of year, and everything like that. Well, like you were saying, like there's just little ravines that go and like it's just or waving hills, rolling hills. That's the word I'm looking for. And you see them crested up on one, and they're just hanging out there, or they're bedded on the side of a hill, and you're like, all right, I see them, but I can't just walk straight to them because if I try that, like they can see me the whole way.
Wind or yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
And so it's like, okay, what's the wind doing? They can see me, I can see them. If I try to go straight at them, like it's just open visibility, that won't work. And so how do I get around them, still playing the wind? And then, you know, you're like, okay, I'm going to go around two little hills, ravines away, and I'm going to come up through those, like around those, and you like come over one, and it's like, wait, I thought they were going to be over this one. And then you go down into the next one, and then you kind of have to weave around, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to come up this one, and it's like, wait, where are the deer? And then
Yeah.
you're like, well, then they must have spooked, and no, and just when you're about to give up on it, you come up over another hill that you didn't think was going to be there. You thought you went around 2 hills and you ended up going around 5, and you come up over a hill and next thing you know, those deer are 20 yards from you and they spook then. And it's like, oh my gosh, right when I gave up on it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the
no,
terrain, don't know where you're at, and you lose a sight on them. Then there's no landmarks. It's all flat and it all looks the same.
yeah.
That's just
They were
it's
laying
tough.
right next to those 2 sagebrush.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then you
those
come around,
two.
it's like, wait, there's a pair of sagebrush everywhere.
Yeah. What if it was those two or those two or those two?
Right. No, but like you were saying, like those mule deer out there, um, the smallest, not the smallest, but like the most average buck mule deer that I had seen there, they were all bigger than like the biggest whitetail I've seen in person out there. So like your average mule, which like you were saying, they're a little bit bigger body anyways. But I was just like kind of impressed with how big, like score wise, like if you were to talk about scoring their antlers, like just their antler score size was like on average higher than whitetail. And I mean, I was super inexperienced. I was just getting back, I guess you could call it back into archery hunting um at this point, but it was like no experience with mule deer especially, and it was like, whoa, I was not expecting the uh the potential score for these deer out there. I never did get one. I got in close on a couple, and some rookie mistakes led to no actual shot opportunities, but um no, it was just a whole different experience, and obviously it's way different than whitetail.
All right, yeah. No, I remember when you would always tell us on the phone after a hunt like that how it's fun. It's a rush. It's a good adrenaline rush, and I've never really spot and stalked anything other than that mule deer doe
Hmm.
off of the ATV. Uh, it's always been tree stand or blind
Yeah.
uh, in Kansas or eastern Colorado. But it's definitely an opportunity that I'd kind of like to try sometimes. It's a challenge because
Yeah.
their hearing is unbelievable, their vision is unbelievable, but even their smell is just. I mean, they got the senses that um, anybody that's been an avid deer hunter for their whole life, where I was just really after college,
Hmm.
uh, and like I said, a long trip for me was 4 days and 3 nights back
Right.
then. Now that you can put some more time into it, and I still look back and would love the opportunity that, and you and I have talked about it, just to have our own farm or ranch or property where you could manage it and be able to, always set up cameras or put in food plots or
Yeah.
track deer. Yeah, you get an opportunity to watch some of the shows that are on Sportsman Channel or Outdoor Channel and see what they're doing. It'd be kind of neat to be able to have that experience. Um, but it's just about like anything else anymore. It's a rich man's hobby, and
Hmm.
those with the most money win.
Right.
So it is what it is. We'll get a chance, and it's still like I said, and I always will. I don't have to shoot the biggest buck that's in that county.
Right.
And it's tough for, like Mark, when we go out there to Kansas, he always wants you to get the biggest one that you can. And when you shoot a lesser deer, it's like, you had as much time as you wanted. We weren't ever going to kick you out. And it's like, yeah, yeah, but sometimes
I'm kicking myself out.
yeah, it was just unique. I really like that deer. It didn't have to be you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
That
but
the experience got my heart racing, and I was
yeah,
really excited about when this one came in, or
right.
whatever. Like,
I'm not gonna lie to you. Do you want a 200? Yeah, I'd love to see a 200 deer within bow.
yeah,
I don't know if I'll be alive that long, but
I'd probably
um,
poop my pants before I got a shot off, but
yeah.
I'd still
Well,
love a
I
chance at it.
think we had one last year, but he never did get in close enough. Always
Yeah.
come in the same spot, but that'll be our whitetail stories down the road, I guess.
Right.
We haven't talked whitetail yet, but
Yeah, we've
that's
got a
been.
handful of those that we can talk on.
Oh yeah, it's just all the passions. I think whitetail and whitetail, walleye, and really pheasants have been my three big ones. But as of late, it's been walleye and whitetail. Just now
Yeah.
getting back into the pheasant deal, and the competitions are good, but uh, just to go out and go wild bird hunting
Yeah.
hasn't happened much as like. But
Right.
other than that, those are the main ones.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, it'd be fun to get up there and maybe try to do a spot and stalk mule deer with you or something.
Yeah,
Um, especially archery. I think that's something when I watch people on YouTube, and because I mean we don't have the Sportsman's channel. We have YouTube TV, but Sportsman's channel is like the additional package is like ridiculous price to add that on. So I don't ever watch that, but I just watch a ton of people on YouTube. And some of the more impressive hunts I watch are those spot and stalk mule deer, um, in like low country, plains mule deer.
yeah,
And it just it was so much fun to try, and it would be I can't even imagine how much fun I would have to actually be successful on one. And
yeah.
so that's something I would want to go back to, western Kansas, eastern Colorado, eastern Wyoming, western Nebraska, those types of places, and try again on a spot and stalk archery mule deer.
hmm Yeah, they're all good places. I know that the sandhills in western Nebraska just hold some really big deer, I guess, too. So
Yeah.
it's really that whole corridor, western to eastern Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, and even Wyoming, South Dakota does
Oh
have
yeah, for sure,
good
South
ones.
Dakota.
Yeah, so it is what it is. Just have the
Yep.
opportunities. Yeah,
Yep.
very
Well,
good.
I think that wraps up the mule deer. I think, elk is coming up soon, elk season, and so maybe we can get into more in depth on some elk stories and elk hunt stories, and then after that's going to be whitetail season getting going again. So we'll I think right before whitetail season starts, we'll start sharing a few stories because you have a lot more whitetail on the wall, and so that one might be a span of like couple 2 3 episodes where we talk whitetail and the successful hunts, the unsuccessful hunts, the experiences, encounters,
Yeah,
all that
a lot
stuff.
of
So
both.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So no, especially once whitetail season gets a lot closer, or we're a couple weeks out, a month out, which we're a month and a half now. But once we're about a month out, we can start really getting into some whitetail stories.
You betcha. Sounds good.
Yeah, well, the listeners, that's what you have to look forward to. I don't know. You got any closing thoughts there, Mumbo?
Well, man, a few words. We'll look forward to the next time, though. It's always
Yep.
fun.
Yeah, it was good getting back, and we'll try to get a few more cranked out here in the nearer future, so that we can have some more to talk about going into hunting season.
Betcha. Sounds good.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys listening. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Alrighty.